Hello everyone, my name is Anagha and I'll be teaching today's lesson on website development. Today's second lesson is called Basic HTML Tags and Intro to CSS. So, what will we go over today? Today, we will gain more practice with HTML tags. During the last lesson, we learned some basic tags like header tags and paragraphs, and today we will experiment with those tags even more. I will also introduce CSS, which is another major part of website development. Finally, we will learn how to use classes and the div tag. So, let's start with some more HTML tags. This is a screenshot from my code along from the last lesson. As you can see here, we learned how to create paragraphs and links. Something we didn't know is that Replit automatically included these tags in the boilerplate for us. For example, the HTML tag is at the very beginning, containing all of the code from the project. Then, the head tag goes right under the HTML tag. This head tag contains machine-readable information, or metadata, about the document, like its title, scripts, and style sheets, which in this case are information about the JavaScript and CSS. There is also the title tag, which includes the website name. So, for example, when you look at the top of your screen on the tab list, you can see that this video you're watching right now has the title of the YouTube video. If you look here at my tab list, you can see that this website is called Website Development Week 2, because that is the name of my slideshow. Finally, the body tag includes all of the body of your code you write, such as headers, paragraphs, links, images, and everything else. As I said before, most of these are boilerplate code, so you don't have to worry about it too much if you work with Replit. Okay, now on to CSS. CSS is the second of the 3 sublanguages of website development that we will discuss in this course. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. CSS is basically the designing of the website, including aspects like the colors of the backgrounds, the fonts, and the sizes of elements. Let's start with some vocabulary. The selector determines which section of the HTML code you've written will be customized. For example, in the image to the top right, you can see that the selector here is the body. If you remember from the earlier slide, the body is one of the larger tags that encompasses all of the code that you write. So here, this CSS code will affect everything inside of that body tag. The property determines which aspect of the HTML code you've written will be customized. For example, in the image to the top right, you can see that the property is the color. The CSS code here will change the font color of everything inside of the body tag. Finally, the declaration determines what the HTML code will look like. For example, here the CSS code states that the color will be of the hex code value of hashtag 333333, which in actuality is a grayish black color. If you look at the image on the bottom right, you can see other properties and declarations that are commonly used in CSS. Font families, font sizes, and font weights are typically customized properties when developing websites. Here is a picture of what hex codes look like and their values. When choosing colors to change elements in websites, you will most likely look for hex codes. Although Replit and many other coding interfaces allow you to simply type the name of the color you wish to use, hex codes allow you to choose deeper and more niche colors on your sites. Okay, now let's move on to CSS Syntax and Properties. What do you notice about this line of CSS that is different from HTML? Well, I noticed that in CSS, you do not use tags with the greater than, less than signs. In CSS, you use brackets to include information about properties and declarations for customizing your site. You will also add colons to declare values of what you want your properties to be. Finally, you use semicolons at the end of each declaration to show that your declaration is complete. When using colors, you will use the hashtag symbol before the number value of the hex code. Now, let's try CSS. Open your Replit account and create a new HTML.js CSS project and call it Website Development Lesson 2. When you are in your project, be sure to rename your title tag to say Favorite Movie Project. As you may have assumed from seeing the slide, we will focus on our favorite movie for this project. Last time, we only used index.html, but this time we will also be utilizing style.css. Here are the specs for the project. I will now walk you through this project. We will begin by writing an h1 element with the title of our favorite movie. For example, if your favorite movie is Harry Potter, you will simply type Harry Potter the Sorcerer's Stone into the H1 tag, just like last time. Then we will write an H2 element with the list of the main cast of the movie. Here, I would write Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, Emma Watson. Next, we will write a P element, writing a paragraph of the short summary of the movie. Here, I've copied a summary from online. Next, we will begin with the CSS. Make sure to write a CSS rule for the H1, H2, and P elements. Write a declaration to change the font size and the font color of the H1, H2, and P elements. Remember, if you want to change the font size, you will use the font-size : to declare the value. And if you want to change the font color, you will simply type color : and declare the value. Have a bit of creative freedom here. Also, make sure to check out the background - color property. You can change the background colors of your headers with this property. Now, this is what my project looks like. I've changed the font size of my H1 element to 40px and the font color to #7A0707, which is a dark red color. I also changed the font family to Helvetica and made the font weight 800. If you are confused about the font families, be sure to Google what different font families in CSS are. There's also a way to incorporate Google Fonts into your code, but I'll not be teaching that in this lesson. For my H2 element, I changed the font size to 30px and the font color to #2E0E56, which is a dark purple color. I also changed this font family to Tahoma and the font weight to 800. I also changed the background color of this element to #F2D5D5, which is a light pink color. Finally, I've changed the font size of my P element to 20px and the font color to #301212, which is another shade of dark red. I changed the font family to Verdana and the font weight to 100. Now, our websites are starting to come alive. Let's go back to the presentation. We will now learn about the final topics of the day, classes and the div tag. Classes are basically just our elements renamed with names. These can help organize our elements and are especially helpful if we have multiple of the same element. For example, if we have multiple paragraphs, it would be very helpful to have separate paragraphs with different names so that we can customize these paragraphs differently. The div tag can create classes that hold multiple elements. This tag is also known as the division tag or the section tag. I'll demonstrate how the div tag works shortly. If you look at the image in the bottom right corner, you can see that there are 3 sections here, which we use the div tag to separate. These are the specs for our final project of the day. For this project, you will create 3 different div classes for 3 characters in your movie. You will also change the colors of the background, fonts, and sizes for each character's div. You will also change the sizes of the headers and paragraphs within these characters' divs. I will now only demo one div tag class, and the rest will be up to you all to figure out. So, let's reopen your Replit project that we just created a little while ago. Under the paragraph with the summary of your movie, you will create your first div class. Let's name this class Class 1. This is a very basic name, I know, but you guys can change it to whatever you want, but make sure to remember that it's called differently when you are coding your CSS. In this div, you will create a header with the name of your character. I'll create an H1 header class and name it Hermione and write out Hermione Granger. Then I'll create another H1 header class and name it Played By. Here I will type Emma Watson since Emma Watson plays Hermione in Harry Potter. Then I will add a paragraph class and call it Hermione Paragraph. I will write some things I love about Hermione. Hermione is very intelligent. She loves reading books, which is something we both have in common. I love Hermione's hair. She is my favorite character. Now I will close the div tag. This is the end of our section for Hermione. Now let's move on to the CSS aspect. First, we need to comment out everything we coded earlier, as this CSS code will affect the new H1 and P elements we just created. If we don't comment these out, all the declarations we made here will be applied to our new Hermione div class. To comment out code in CSS, you will use the slash symbol and a star symbol at the beginning of what you want to comment out, and the star symbol and a slash symbol at the end of what you want to comment out, just like this. Now, let's make the background color for the whole class 1 div tag to be light blue. You will need to put a period before each class name. Let's make the first H1 class, Hermione, to have a background color of dark purple. Let's make the font in this class to be white. Now, let's move on to the second H1 class, Played By, to have a background color of dark pink. Let's make the font color in this class again to be white. Now let's edit the paragraph class, Hermione Paragraph. Let's change the background color of this class to be dark blue. Again, let's make the font color here to be white. Now, let's run the code. Wow, our website looks awesome. It's so fun to add in colors to our websites. You can also change the sizes of the fonts using the font-size : with the number of what you want your font size to be, just like we did earlier. I'll leave that up to you guys. Anyways, after all of that, you guys should also add images of your favorite characters using what we learned in last class. And that's a wrap for our second class. Thank you all for watching. Feel free to contact me with any questions regarding today's lesson and make sure to send me the link to your website. Have an awesome day. Goodbye.